Rio Grande Valley. Well, we couldn't be more appreciative of the shooting, to be welcomed, the way we were. I don't think we've been welcomed like that before. And with a meal, I mean, one of the things that we're just so appreciative of, as we come through a town and as we stop at the end of the day, is that somebody cares what we're doing, and they show that by being a part of, actually being a part of the day. So that's pretty special. So thank you guys so much for doing that, and we all give them a hand. Yes. And I know there's some Gold Star moms in the mix too. Pat, you're in the Blue Star moms too, or no?
Yeah. Both of us. We're both groups. Just so we can keep in touch and coordinate. There's a lot of stuff.
Firstly, I just want to make sure you've got that extra name. Okay. Well, we have 3 on the Gold Star family team, but we're not read for today. So, Pat, yeah, if you get their names, because we're going to read. Because he's on today. But I'm sure you know what we're doing. I mean, obviously the Gold Star families that are here have an understanding of what it is exactly that we're doing. But what we have done as an organization through Honor and Remember is created a tribute trail to honor all of America's fallen military from the USS Cole forward. So we compiled a list, and and I don't say this, with any pride or anything, but we compiled we have probably a greater list than the DoD, because our list includes not only all of the casualties on their list, but we have reached out to families that aren't even on their list and they don't recognize as casualties of war or as casualties at all in terms of the public. So there's many names that they don't even reveal, to the general public. And so we've, in talking with the DoD and talking with the Department of the Army and talking with the Department of the Navy, and through our own Gold Star family groups, I'm able to compile a list of fallen that now is topping over 20,000. Now, if you go to any of the sites that include the War on Terror, most of them just include battle casualties. And if you look at the number of battle casualties, you'll see we're right around 7,000. I mean, that's a horrible number in and of itself. But that number is way low in terms of those that died in training, and those that died by accident, and those that died by sickness. And what we've done as an organization is we've included every single fallen service member who died while serving, no matter how they died. And we also have included those who died as a result of serving. So if there's anything that took a service member's life that was outside of their service, then we have included them also. So that would include any PTSD-related incidences, what we call, emotional wounds, hidden wounds, and yes. So our list, there's not a database for that, because often what happens is when something happens outside of service, it's more of a private thing, and it's not. The DoD doesn't pick up on it, but there are social networking groups that exist, for healing and comfort and counseling and those kinds of things. So we reached out to all those groups as well, and we wanted to make sure that if you went to the website and you searched for your hero and your hero wasn't there, that you could add your hero. And we wanted to make sure that no one was forgotten. It really doesn't matter how you lose your loved one. you know that pain is the same. It really doesn't matter what the circumstances is. I mean, we can all fool ourselves and think, well, you know, my loved one died, you know, saving a regiment, or my loved one died, you know, because of what happened when he came home. The loss is the same as a parent, as a spouse, as a child. You know, they're just not coming home, and that's the bottom line. And you know, as an organization, we have more of an umbrella policy. You know, and I get calls every once in a while of, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? And it's basically because I can do whatever I want to do. And my goal is to make sure that everyone is honored. And you know, there's all kinds of controversy. Names go on a wall, other names don't go on a wall. And I get tired of seeing those fights, you know, honestly. And I believe that those that served our country and died as a result of serving our country need to be remembered. And so if we ever make a mistake as an organization, I mean, if other people think we're making a mistake, you know, my mantra is that we always err on the side of honor. And so how does it hurt to honor someone who gave their life, right, in the long run? How does it hurt? You know, every family deals with their own healing process. And so that's what we're all about. So we've taken these 20,000. Now, we started this mission really 2.5 years ago because we knew in 2018 we were going to run across America for our nation's fallen. So 2.5 years ago we started planning. Well, 2.5 years ago wasn't a cutoff, you know, for our fallen service members, right? Because every day, just about, it seems like we're losing someone in the service. You know, we hear about an incident. Kristen was telling me just the other day, we left Fort Irwin, California on April the 7th. And since we've left Fort Irwin, there's been 3 service members who have died on base in training. I mean, nobody knows about that. You don't hear about that. But those men or women, I don't know who they were, will be on our tribute trail at the end. So what did we do? We took our 20,000, our number, and we divided them up by date of death. Because we didn't know, how do we do this? How do we take this huge list and honor them properly? You know, we don't know, yeah, we've got some kind of a hometown idea, but you know that every service member didn't, wherever they enlisted doesn't necessarily mean that was their hometown. They could have been living there for a while. Their parents could have been there for a week. I mean, I knew Augie and Paulette. Their son is listed as a Virginian, but he wasn't really a Virginian, was he? No, but that's because that's where he enlisted. So you can look at hometown and go, okay, well, we could go by hometown, but it's not always accurate. We could try to figure out where the parents live or the spouses, but we don't know where they live. We don't have all their addresses. So we have no idea where they could be scattered. And so we thought, well, that's not going to work because what if more, I mean, California has a huge amount of losses. Texas has a huge amount of losses. I mean, we'd be weighting everything to one place or another. So what we decided to do was to just take all of these men and women and figure out what their dates of death were, and then chronologically build a tribute trail by date of death. And that way, everybody knows where it's going to happen, because you know we're starting with 2000, and we're ending when we're ending, and so you get an idea of how we're flowing across the country. And sometimes we get a call from a parent, you know, or a spouse and say, hey, I live here, can you move? Well, we can't really move them, because they didn't die alone for one reason. Most of the time, unfortunately, more than one person died on that day. And so that they're being honored together, you know, by their date of death. And so that is how we moved it. But what happens is again, we're very fluid. And so we've met families that have come to their markers, and then we've met families whose markers are way far away, but they're close to us, and so they come to us, right? Yes. You guys? Yeah. So you come to us, and we can honor you here. And it doesn't have to be at your marker, because we're still going to honor your loved one at gesture marker. And maybe a friend can be there, or you can watch it on the live feed, or there's some other way of participating, right? But we're still going to honor them with their buddies or those that they died with, or maybe it wasn't any single incident. But so that's what we did. And when we identified all of those unique dates of death, we came up with about 5,000 unique days of death. And we thought, well, that's manageable because we can divide those up into miles and we can run 5,000 miles. But 2.5 years ago is when we started this. And we knew casualties weren't going to stop the day we decided to run. So what we decided to do is we added 1,000 miles to the end that were just blank, because we knew that we'd have to add more casualties. That's pretty sad, isn't it? But it's forward thinking in terms of us wanting this to be, honestly, the most comprehensive fallen veteran tribute ever compiled, ever. Because what we're doing is every time there's a new casualty, we're putting them on a new mile. And we hope to, so this tribute trail that we built is going through 19 states. We've already been through 5 states, California, Arizona, Utah, Colorado, and now we're in New Mexico. So 5 states already. I can tell you that we have honored over 5,000 service members in just 34 days. 5,000 who have lost their lives in the last 34 days. And our hope is when we enter into Arlington, and we're real close now in terms of miles added and heroes added. Remember I said we added 1,000 miles? We're probably within 50 miles of Arlington Cemetery. And that's a travesty. But we hope to, the very last moment we enter into Arlington, be able to call the last service member who gave their life up to that moment. I mean, I hope we're going to be able to do that, and we don't end up anyway. That's our goal. And so this is what we've been doing mile after mile, 40 to 60 miles a day, for 10 hours a day. It's very grueling, it's very emotional, it's very physical. You know, it's more than just, if you've watched us on the live feed, you can see that we've got a very particular ceremony that happens at every single mile. We want every family to see consistently what another family might see. We don't always have a signal. That's a bad thing for us because we want to make sure that everybody is uniquely recognized. But mile after mile, we have the ceremony. If you watch us, we're jumping out of cars. The runners are doing their mile. We're all jumping out of cars to make sure that somebody is standing for those heroes and that we get it photographed so that we can post that in case the family didn't get a chance to see it. And so there's all this stuff that's happening every single mile, day after day, for at least 10 hours a day, every day. So it's an enormous undertaking. It's very stressful on all of us. We've had some physical problems, and you know, we haven't had any mental breakdowns yet, but you know, we see them probably on the horizon. We've had some mini breakdowns, and mostly the crew you see are those that are traveling the entire time. And so we've committed ourselves to making this happen all the way to Arlington. And so here we are in Albuquerque, you know. Yeah. We've run how many miles total?
1,586.
1,586 miles in the last 34 days. We finished day 34. And today alone, we ran 48 miles. And the number that we ran for today, the number of heroes, is 278. 278. And I'm going to share with you a date. This is the date range that these 278 died. May 30th of 05 to July 6th of 05. So if you figure that out, that is just about 4 weeks. 4-week period, 278 gave their life. And most of these men and women were over in Iraq or Afghanistan. You know, probably Iraq at this time in '05. And so, as is our tradition, at the end of every night, we like to reread the names of those who we ran for many reasons. One is that most of the time nobody was there, and it was us. And you know, we heard them all, and we recorded them all, and hopefully it'll be a part of history, and the families will be able to hear those later. But we like to make sure that we've honored them twice, so that wherever we are at the end of the day ceremony, those that weren't with us are able to hear those names as well, and realize how many have sacrificed for our country during this short period of time. And so I'm going to ask the runners to come up that are going to read, and we're going to read these 278 names. It's not going to take 2 minutes. I'd ask you to please silence your cell phones so that you don't get any calls. It's a very reverent moment. But what I want you to do when you listen to these names is you know that whenever you're in a ceremonial situation and you know that your loved one is being honored and their name is read out loud, you know it's coming, you're expecting it, and you're anticipating it, and then when it comes, it kind of gets you, doesn't it? It's like, that's my kid, or my dad, or whoever it may be. And so as we listen to these names, I want you to think about that, because you're standing in for their families. They're not here to hear their names. And you may not recognize them, and it may just seem like another name to you. But every one of these men and women had a family, has a family. And I don't know the disposition of those families. Maybe those families are gone. Maybe there is no other family member. Maybe this is the last time that their name will be read out loud. I don't know. But one thing's for sure, we're going to read them tonight. And we're going to reverently listen to them and render them honor. And after we read them, we're going to have just a special ceremony before we conclude. You guys ready? Mm-hmm.
Sergeant First Class William Franklin Gordon, United States Army. Senior Airman Jacob Paul Hampson, United States Air Force. Captain Jeremy Fresquez, United States Air Force. Captain Derek Argell, United States Air Force. Major William Downs, United States Air Force. Staff Sergeant Casey Crate, United States Air Force. Corporal Jeffrey B. Starr, United States Marine Corps. Sergeant Miguel Angel Ramos Vargas, United States Army. Sergeant First Class Stephen M. Langmeck, United States Army. Private First Class Franklin Paul Stairs, United States Marine Corps. Private First Class Louis E. Niedermeyer, United States Army. Corporal Philip C. Edmondson, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Virgil R. Case, United States Army National Guard. Captain Jason Los Gonzalez, United States Army. Specialist Candelario Guerra Jr., United States Army. Captain Charles D. Robinson, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Leroy E. Alexander, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Lamont Wesley Price Jr., United States Army. Corporal Antonio Mendoza, United States Marine Corps.
Corporal Randall Dwayne Purcell, United States Army. Master Sergeant Zahn Eric Jones, Senior, United States Marine Corps. Staff Sergeant Jarrett Marcus Jones, United States Army. Specialist Eric J. Pullman, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Justin L. Vasquez, United States Army. Private First Class Brian Scott Olbrich, United States Army. Colonel Theodore S. Westhusing, United States Army. Corporal Carrie L. French, United States Army National Guard. Petty Officer First Class Raul Alejandro Hurtado, United States Navy. Master Sergeant Robert Oregon, United States Army. Sergeant Ryan M. Ramanis, United States Army National Guard. Lance Corporal Jonathan L. Smith, United States Marine Corps. Lance Corporal Robert T. Mininger, United States Marine Corps. Petty Officer 2nd Class Robert Ray Norris, United States Navy. Specialist Eric T. Burry, United States Army. Private 1st Class Paige Francis Kelly, United States Army. First Lieutenant Philip Earl Wilson, United States Army. Lieutenant Colonel Terrence K. Crow, United States Army Reserve. Private 1st Class Douglas E. Cashmere, United States Army. Chief Warrant Officer 5 Robert George Mork, United States Army. First Lieutenant Michael J. Fashnot, United States Army. Private 1st Class Emmanuel Hernandez, United States Army. Sergeant Roberto Arizola Jr., United States Army Reserve. Captain Philip T. Esposito, United States Army National Guard. First Lieutenant Lewis E. Allen, United States Army National Guard. Sergeant Michael J. Kelly, United States Army National Guard. Lance Corporal Mark Lucas Tucker, United States Marine Corps. Specialist Jorge Estrada, United States Army. Sergeant 1st Class Richard J. Matthews, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Mark O. Edwards, United States Army National Guard. Sergeant David Joseph Murray, United States Army National Guard. Lance Corporal Daniel Chavez, United States Marine Corps. Lance Corporal Dustin B. Birch, United States Marine Corps Reserve. Corporal Brad D. Squires, United States Marine Corps Reserve. Lance Corporal Devin Paul Seymour, United States Marine Corps Reserve. Lance Corporal Thomas D. Keeling, United States Marine Corps Reserve.
Staff Sergeant Thomas Lee Flynn, United States Army. Sergeant 1st Class Victor H. Cervantes, United States Army. Private 2nd Class Willie James Brown, United States Army. Tech Sergeant Tony Bruce Kindle, United States Air Force. Lance Corporal Andrew J. Cupella, United States Marine Corps. Lance Corporal Mario Alberto Castillo, United States Marine Corps. Private 1st Class Timothy Paul Thompson, Jr., United States Army. Chief Warrant Officer 3 Curtis Burton Turner, United States Army. Sergeant 1st Class Neil A. Print, United States Army. Corporal Stanley J. Lapinski, United States Army. Sergeant Casey Byers, United States Army National Guard. Sergeant Larry R. Arnold, Sr., United States Army National Guard. Sergeant Terrence D. Lee, Sr., United States Army National Guard. Lance Corporal Anthony Rene Martinez, United States Marine Corps. Captain Rodney J. Schamberger, United States Army. Private 1st Class Solomon Ricardo Farquharson, United States Army. Sergeant Raquel Denis Smith, United States Army. Sergeant Carlos Alberto Gonzalez, United States Army. Private 2nd Class Jeffrey Robert Weedle, United States Army. Sergeant Michael Francis Egan, United States Army. Specialist Anthony D. Kinslow, United States Army. Sergeant Larry R. Coons, Jr., United States Army. Staff Sergeant Kenneth Wayne Fryman, Jr., United States Army. Lance Corporal John J. Maddock, Jr., United States Marine Corps. Sergeant Anthony G. Jones, United States Army. Private 1st Class Michael Ray Hayes, United States Army National Guard. Private 1st Class Nathan B. Clemens, United States Marine Corps. Private 1st Class Joshua P. Killinger, United States Marine Corps. Major Philip Kurt Swanger, United States Army. Specialist Daniel Alfred D. La Certa, United States Army. Lance Corporal Dion M. Whitley, United States Marine Corps. Lance Corporal Chad B. Maynard, United States Marine Corps. Corporal Jesse Jaime, United States Marine Corps. Corporal Tyler S. Trevillon, United States Marine Corps. Senior Chief Petty Officer Brian Carl Johnson, United States Navy. Petty Officer 2nd Class Cesar O. Bays, United States Navy.
Sergeant Ethan Harold Bronze, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Christopher N. Piper, United States Army. Specialist David Paul Swenson, Jr., United States Army. Specialist Anthony S. Cometa, United States Army National Guard. Captain John W. Maloney, United States Marine Corps. Lance Corporal Eric R. Helt, United States Marine Corps. Master Sergeant Michael L. McNulty, United States Army. Master Sergeant Robert M. Horrigan, United States Army. Master Sergeant John Timothy Cummins, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Ronald Wayne Cooley Jr., United States Army. Senior Airman Joshua Allen Booker, United States Air Force. Fireman Apprentice Brian Buster Fagut, United States Navy. First Lieutenant Noah Harris, United States Army. Corporal William A. Long, United States Army. Senior Airman Isaac Grant Patrick, United States Air Force. Corporal Jesse Jonathan Menard, United States Marine Corps. Lance Corporal Adam J. Crumpler, United States Marine Corps. Private First Class Thomas Michael Jones, United States Army. Senior Airman Kevin Charles Sager, United States Air Force. Airman First Class James Vincent Bonadillo, Jr., United States Air Force. Captain Christian Dwayne Goffke, United States Marine Corps. Private First Class Christopher R. Kilpatrick, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Florida Marie Silwell, United States Army. Airman First Class Justin Roy Souza, United States Air Force. Petty Officer First Class Andre Lamont Anderson, United States Navy. Airman Sean Joseph Pulley, United States Navy. Sergeant Daniel Lee Miller, United States Army. Specialist Brian A. Vaughn, United States Army. Specialist Christopher L. Hoskins, United States Army. Specialist Nicholas R. Adelsky, United States Army. Sergeant James D. Stewart, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Jonathan Lee Warner, United States Army. Major Dwayne W. Dibley, United States Air Force. Sergeant Arnold Duplantier II, United States Army National Guard. Petty Officer First Class Kendall Lee Fregat, United States Navy. Sergeant First Class Christopher W. Phelps, United States Army.
Sergeant Joseph M. Tackert, United States Army. Lance Corporal Holly A. Charette, United States Marine Corps. Lance Corporal Benicia Moy, United States Marine Corps. Corporal Chad W. Powell, United States Marine Corps. Corporal Ramona M. Valdez, United States Marine Corps. Petty Officer First Class Regina R. Clark, United States Navy Reserve. Private First Class Emo Elias Hammer, United States Army. Private Jason William Pridham, United States Army. Sergeant Michael Donald Hawkins, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Justin Scott Keenan, United States Air Force. Captain Shad Michael Struther, United States Air Force. Sergeant Michael Thomas Marvin, United States Marine Corps. Corporal Carlos Pineda, United States Marine Corps. Petty Officer Second Class Michael Angelo Ciladonio, United States Navy. Chief Petty Officer Dwayne Allen Birch, United States Navy. Private First Class David Shane Baker, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Celicia Rondella Cook, United States Army. Master Sergeant Donald Ray Morris, United States Air Force. Lance Corporal Kevin B. Joyce, United States Marine Corps. Private Carlisle Thomas Latoff, United States Army. Private Cheyenne Marietta Seymour, United States Army. Sergeant Antraven Dier Mason Black, United States Army. Airman First Class Joe Renee LaRoche, United States Air Force. Tech Sergeant Cheryl Mary Portella, United States Air Force. Specialist Charles A. Kaufman, United States Army National Guard. Commander William Newton Hughes, United States Navy. Chief Warrant Officer 2, Stephen Earl Shepard, United States Army. Second Lieutenant Matthew S. Cotu, United States Army. Chief Warrant Officer 2, Keith R. Mariotti, United States Army. Command Sergeant Major Harry Lee Wilson, Jr., United States Army. Master Sergeant Christopher James Keith, United States Army. Chief Warrant Officer 2, Stephen E. Shepard, United States Army. Petty Officer Second Class Sevi Ricardo Romaine, United States Navy. Sergeant Nicholas E. Hughes, United States Army. Specialist Rafael A. Carrillo, Jr., United States Army. Lieutenant Colonel Walter Bernard, Sr., United States Army.
Staff Sergeant Martin Anthony Gradisher, United States Army. Private Brandon S. Ascution, United States Army. Sergeant Edward Mallory Vestal, United States Army. Chief Warrant Officer 2, Chris J. Schirkenbach, United States Army. Sergeant Kip A. Jacoby, United States Army. Major Stephen C. Reich, United States Army. Sergeant First Class Marcus V. Murialis, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Seamus O. Giore, United States Army. Chief Warrant Officer 2, Corey J. Goodnature, United States Army. Master Sergeant James W. Ponder III, United States Army. Specialist First Class Michael L. Russell, United States Army. Oh, excuse me. Sergeant First Class Michael L. Russell, United States Army. Specialist Robert E. Hall Jr., United States Army Reserve. Sergeant Manny Hornado, United States Army National Guard. Lieutenant Commander Eric S. Christensen, United States Navy. Petty Officer Second Class Matthew G. Axelson, United States Navy. Petty Officer Second Class Daniel P. Diaz, United States Navy. Petty Officer Second Class James Shaw, United States Navy. Chief Petty Officer Jacques J. Fonton, United States Navy. Senior Chief Petty Officer Daniel R. Healy, United States Navy. Petty Officer Second Class Shane Eric Patton, United States Navy. Lieutenant Michael P. Murphy, United States Navy. Lieutenant Michael M. McGreevy Jr., United States Navy. Petty Officer Jeffrey S. Taylor, United States Navy. Petty Officer Jeffrey A. Lucas, United States Navy. Captain Charles Edward Bolt, United States Army. Specialist Stephen Zane Madison, United States Army. Private Ahmad Jamal Ford, United States Army. Sergeant First Class Redger Lancaster, United States Army. Private Second Class Tyler Dean Wall, United States Army. Specialist Alan John Lugo, United States Army. Airman First Class Charles R. Richard Peterson, United States Air Force. Sergeant Chad M. Mercer, United States Army National Guard. Sergeant Richard Matthew Phoebe, United States Army. Private Second Class Kevin Andrew Lyons, United States Army.
Airman First Class Stephen Eli Johns, United States Air Force. Corporal Jacob Schuyler Camp, United States Marine Corps. Specialist Solomon Lee Bellinger, United States Army. Petty Officer Dennis Gregory Kearns Jr., United States Navy. Specialist Sean Anthony Brooke, United States Army. Private First Class Louis Armando Ortez, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Jeremy A. Brown, United States Army. Specialist Brian Ray Dickey, United States Army. Senior Airman Damon LaTroy Wells, United States Air Force. Sergeant Ryan J. Montgomery, United States Army National Guard. Private First Class William Trevor Atherley, United States Marine Corps. Petty Officer Jason Aaron Collins, United States Navy. Sergeant Juan Lavelle Johnson, United States Army. Major Laverne Edward Clark, United States Army. Sergeant Jorge Omar Sostamata, United States Marine Corps. Private Anthony M. Mazzarella, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Scotty L. Bright, United States Army. Corporal Lyle J. Cambridge, United States Army. Sergeant Stephen Matthew Hansen, United States Army. Specialist Christopher W. Dickinson, United States Army. Private First Class Philip Carmen King, United States Army. Lieutenant Noah Alfred Hendricks Jr., United States Navy. Major Douglas Winst Duker, United States Army. Senior Master Sergeant James Edward Burks, United States Air Force. Lance Corporal Andrew J. Pippin, United States Marine Corps. Private First Class David Edward Twitchell, United States Marine Corps. Tech Sergeant Robert Russell Price, United States Air Force. Sergeant Dason K. Carriga, United States Army National Guard. Specialist Hobie F. Bradfield Jr., United States Army. Sergeant Laverne Marion Edwards, United States Army. Private First Class Eric Paul Woods, United States Army. Specialist David Elliott Holland, United States Army. Lieutenant Colonel Anson Lewis Holly III, United States Air Force. First Lieutenant Kristen Cheryl Paulson, United States Army. Tech Sergeant Shane Nicholas Taniguchi, United States Air Force. Major Gina Ann Newhouse, United States Air Force.
Staff Sergeant Joseph P. Goodrich, United States Marine Corps Reserve. Lance Corporal Ryan J. Kovacic, United States Marine Corps Reserve. Petty Officer Second Class Myron Grant Tucker Jr., United States Navy. Sergeant First Class Kenneth Ray Merchant, United States Army. Warrant Officer 1 Christopher Shabbat Martin, United States Army. Sergeant Timothy J. Sutton, United States Army. Sergeant Major Falafia Viata, Navy. Hospitalman J. Ruel Silva Villarreal, United States Navy. Private Richard Donald Minor Jr., United States Army. Private Gregory Benjamin Wirtz, United States Army. Master Sergeant Robert Eugene Hendricks, United States Army. Specialist Benjamin B. Yadaha, United States Army. Private Nicholas Andrew Davis, United States Army. Specialist Jason Edward Cooper, United States Army Reserve. Private First Class Timothy J. Hines Jr., United States Army. Private First Class Christopher Wayne Ross, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Tricia L. Jameson, United States Army National Guard. Corporal Christopher D. Winchester, United States Marine Corps. Corporal Clifton Blake Mounts, United States Marine Corps. Petty Officer Second Class Sergeant Travis S. Cooper, United States Army National Guard. Sergeant First Class Ronald T. Wood, United States Army National Guard. Colonel Christopher Leon McRae, United States Marine Corps.
Commander James Allen Graff, United States Navy. Specialist Ronnie D. Williams, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Frank F. T.I., United States Army Reserve. Lance Corporal Ephraim Sanchez Jr., United States Marine Corps. Fireman Kirkland Dean Locker Price, United States Navy. Staff Sergeant Stephen Eugene Allen, United States Army. General William Childs Westmoreland. I would also like to recognize Staff Sergeant Christopher Diaz, United States Marine Corps.
Yes, sir.
Specialist Christopher Merville, United States Army. Sergeant Stephen M. Carpenter, United States Marine Corps.
Thank you.
278 names in a little over 4 weeks. One of the ways we conclude the reading of our names is to make sure that we haven't forgotten anyone. You lost a buddy, a neighbor, community friend. It really doesn't matter. We want to make sure that as we honor across this nation, that truly it took all of our heroes to keep this land free. In our generation and in past generations. And so if there's anyone here that would like to name someone who has not been named tonight, I give you that opportunity now. Anyone at all, for anyone. Yes, sir.
My best friend's father, his name is Robert Swan. He served Marines and Navy.
What was his name? Do you remember?
Robert Swan.
Okay, thank you.
And Marine that was with my son. We were stationed at 21 Arms. He died in Afghanistan. Corporal Michael son.
Yes.
My father-in-law, Bud Coleman, was Navy.
Augie, would you like to? You don't have to.
My father, Augustine Martoni Jr.
Senior.
Augustine Martoni Sr. United States Air Force, World War II. My son, Justin Robert Montoni, United States Marine, Gunny Sergeant 206.
Thank you. If we could just have a moment of silence for those men and women that we ran for today and for their families. Amen. Everyone may or may not be familiar with the Honor and Remember flag. That's the organization that we started 10 years ago. A flag that we hoped would become our national symbol of remembrance. And we have been working for the last 10 years to make this one of the most recognizable symbols in America. It's now been adopted in 24 states as the official state symbol of remembrance. And it's the flag that we carry as we run mile after mile, because it represents every fallen service member ever to give their life in our country's history. But it's meant to be a public symbol, a public reminder, a public thank you, a show of appreciation